Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Did a video earlier about Dundee and the fact that it had a housing emergency and they wanted to declare it as such, but the Dundee Council said no, they didn't want to embarrass the SNP government. Dundee Council is an SNP council. And now it seems that it has bounced back on them because the SNP government itself has now announced and declared a national housing emergency as homelessness is soaring. Now, I'm going to do two videos, this one and then another one that follows it. This one's in the Record. There's one that follows is in, I think it's in the Herald, which you may not have seen because obviously it's behind the paywall and that. You see, God, the bullets I take for this. But it is there, and we're going to have a look because they are two sides of the same coin. We're going to have a look at this one with homelessness, and then we're going to have a look at the next one, which will be to do with the way that the SNP has caused a major problem that's led to homelessness, and it's a problem that's ongoing, and we'll have a look at them both. So they are these two related videos. I'll try to put them out, one and then the other. They'll go together, hopefully with the editing that I have to do. I will make sure that we do them and have to get them the right way round. So the Record will be the first one. So we'll have a look at this now because, yes, there is a massive, massive problem in Scotland with homelessness, and we're going to see why. Here goes. So the SNP are declaring national housing emergency after homelessness soars. Now, previously, this was all done at a council area level, and so individual councils would have to declare an emergency. That would then entitle them to emergency funds from central government to try and help tackle, or at least alleviate, some of the problem, which is why the people in Dundee wanted that to be declared, and the Dundee Council and SNP Council said, no. If we do that, it's going to make it look bad for the SNP government. We're not doing it. And then here we are, hours later, and bada bing. Even the SNP have thrown the towel in and realised that they've screwed the pooch when it comes to housing. And of course it isn't going to get better. Social Justice Secretary and liar Shirley-Anne has confirmed the Swinney government's new position. It must have annoyed her to do so. She's always denied that there's a problem. The SNP government will today declare a national housing emergency after an outcry over the impact on children and families. Social Justice Secretary Shirley-Anne Somerville will confirm the move after figures revealed 10,000 kids are languishing in temporary accommodation. At the same time, there are enough empty council houses in Scotland that just need that just need small, in often cases, small fixes or some substantial work, across the board, and they'll be good to go. And they have got the funding for it, but they decided instead of spending 2-3 million doing these council places up that would house every single one of those 10,000 children, that they wouldn't spend that money and they spend it elsewhere. They cut 200 million off social building budget because, deep in the doodah, financially speaking, this is what happens when you employ a woman with an 86 IQ in charge of finance and the economy. Dearie me. The Daily Record has led the way in exposing the heartbreaking impact of the crisis in Scotland. Homelessness is at record levels, with 30,724 open applications recorded. This is an increase of 10%. Private rental prices rose by 6.8% in the 12 months to January, and house building has slumped, almost to the point of stopping. Now, to say that rental prices have rose 6.8% in 12 months. It's very disingenuous. Let's go back over, let's say, 5 years and see how much they've gone up over 5 years, with all the fact that during that time rents were not allowed to be increased. There was no evictions for tenants, even if they weren't paying their rent, etc., etc. And when you look at that and then average out the last 5 years, the rent increases in Scotland have gone up on average 4.1%. Done the maths. 4.1%. per year over the last 5 years. Well below, and I mean significantly well below, inflation. Let's look at that figure. They wouldn't be going up now if it wasn't for the artificial measures put in by Sturgeon and the Greens over the last few years. It would be much more organic and it would be lower and more affordable. Thus, fewer people would be homeless. This is what happens. This is what happens when you do it. But we'll look at that in the next video. The previous government of Humza Yousaf was also savaged for a near £200 million cut in the affordable housing budget. I mentioned that at the beginning there. Although some councils have declared an emergency, the government had not yet done this so far. However, ministers will today change tack during a debate led by Labour at Holyrood. Somerville told the Record the housing emergency is one of the defining issues of a generation. She's going to now lie. And I called her a liar at the beginning. She says it's caused by a decade and a half of Tory austerity, soaring inflation as a result of the UK government economic incompetence, and the almost 9% cut in the Scottish Government's capital budget handed down by Westminster. Let's have a look at these three things. Number one, housing is an entirely devolved matter. Westminster has no say on it at all. Number one. It's not it's not a decade and a half of Tory austerity, because for every year for the past 15 years, in fact 17 years, the amount of money received in Scotland from Westminster has gone up every year. This year alone, the largest ever on record, £46 billion. And they don't tell Scotland how to spend it. They can spend it however they want. Soaring inflation for the 15 years? I don't think so. Soaring inflation has been very low for the last 15 years. It's only the last 3 years that inflation has soared, ever since Russia invaded Crimea and oil prices went up. And with rising oil prices, everything goes up. That's how it works. It's an oil-based economy. And so, no, it isn't the Westminster government's fault that happened either. And as for the 9% cut to Scotland's government's capital budget, no. It was Shona Robison who pulled 200 million from the housing budget in order to fill the black hole from previous spending by the SNP government with all their wasteful spending. Let's have a look at the £8 million a month that they spend on spin doctors. Let's have a look at the millions a year on foreign embassies. Money that can be saved, money that can be invested, money that isn't. Money that's actually, in often cases, leaving the country. Let's also have a look at selling off your seabeds to the lowest bidder. Let's have a look at not setting up any kind of feedback from those seabeds, so you at least get some of the money they're generating. Money that then generates electricity that the people of Scotland pay to these companies, which then take the money out of Scotland. It isn't even reinvested in terms of taxation. It's taxed elsewhere. So if you want to really get on your boat about money, Shirley-Anne Somerville, have a look closer to home. Mirror would be a good start. Anyway, she's moaning on, and I'm not even going to pay attention to her because she's just blaming other people. The fact is, Scotland's housing problem is all Scotland's government's making. A devolved issue that for years was screwed up by what they're doing. Scottish Government source said that they've changed the position under John Swinney was a sign of a greater focus on everyday concerns. He cited cutting child poverty as a top priority, even though he's still adopting policies that increase it. And he said his cabinet is reviewing Yousaf's legislative programme from last year. Hopefully by scanning it and reviewing it, they actually mean shredding it. Scottish Labour housing spokesman Mark Griffin said, with rents soaring, homelessness at record levels and mortgages through the roof, there's no doubt that Scotland is in the grip of a devastating housing emergency. The SNP has buried its head in the sand for too long. They've ignored the problem. Everyone has been telling them for a long time it's coming, and they've done nothing about it. And when you explain to them why you're in this position, the very policies the SNP have done and adopted and pushed to get themselves into the position, they stick their fingers in their ears and go la la la, because they don't want to hear that they have caused it. And in the second video, we're going to see why they caused it. We'll come up for this one. Thank you. So as I say, this is the first of two. We're going to have a look at the second one coming out shortly. This one is just showing that it is actually an SNP problem. They've done it. 17 years of devolved housing responsibility. 17 years of failing to listen to people. 17 years of imposing controls, 17 years of cutting budgets, and 17 years of blaming everyone else other than themselves. And yet everyone has said all along this can be easily solved. But not while they're spending money on all the independence crap that they want to spend the money on. Money that does no good for anyone. And then you have the cheek to blame Westminster when it's your government, the SNP government, that throws away an opportunity to make billions, untold billions, and you sell it to the lowest bidder. Somebody is involved in a deal and somebody got a cutback for that. Anyway, we'll round this one off. We'll have a look at the next one. Do hit subscribe, do hit the like, and I will speak to you in a little while. Bye.